We're in the Italian city of Ravenna, standing outside of the Church of San Vitale. This is a really important 6th century church. It's just really old.
And it's unusual in that it's a centrally planned church. That means its focus is on its center instead of a basilica, which has a long or longitudinal axis.
Right. When we think about a church, we generally think about a building that's shaped like a cross, and it has that long hallway, the nave. This doesn't have that. Instead, it's got an ambulatory or an aisle that surrounds the central space. In this particular case, on the east side of the church, there's also an extension with an apse at the end.
Looking at the outside of San Vitale, we see that it has 8 sides. So it's an octagon, and within that octagon is a smaller octagon that rises higher.
The exterior of the church is brick. Those bricks were taken from ancient Roman buildings and reused here in the 6th century. The walls are pierced with lots of windows, and that's especially important because the interior is covered with some of the most magnificent mosaics that survive from the early medieval period.
The emperor in Constantinople in the early 500s sends his general Belisarius to conquer Italy, to reconquer Ravenna, and reestablish Orthodox Christian belief here in Ravenna.
And the Arian belief was suppressed. And so what we're seeing here is the reassertion of Eastern imperial control. That is, Justinian is in Constantinople, in the east, and he is saying, I'm in charge, even here in Ravenna, in Italy.
Spiritual power go hand in hand with political power, with the power of the emperor.
We see Justinian in the center, wearing purple, the color that is associated with the throne, and he's surrounded by his court. But there are also religious figures representing the church, and there are soldiers. 3 centers of power: the church, the emperor, and the military.
So we can see that some of the figures are treated more individualistically than others. Justinian, Maximian are more individualized, and it's possible that people at the time would have looked up and recognized the other figures who are lost to us today. But the figures from the army are much more anonymous.
Justinian, the emperor, authority is divine. You can see a halo around his head, and he holds a bowl associated with the Eucharist, which he's handing in the direction of Christ in the apse.
Right, this is a bowl that would have contained the bread for the sacrament of the Eucharist. He's in the center of the composition, he's frontal, but really all of the figures in this mosaic are frontal.
They are schematic, abstracted. This is the medieval. We've left the classical tradition of naturalism behind.
And so if we look closely at the figures, we can see that there's no real concern for accurate proportions. Their feet don't really seem to carry the weight of their bodies. They seem to float in an eternal space and not in an earthly space. Next to Justinian, we see the bishop, Maximian, with his name above him, although that was added later. And beside him, other clergymen.
Maximian holds a beautiful jeweled cross, and he wears the same purple that the emperor wears, associating him with the power of the emperor in Constantinople.
The figures next to him hold a jeweled Book of the Gospels, and the figure at the far right holds an incense burner. What we're seeing here is the emperor leading a procession for the enactment of the sacrament of the Eucharist.